Despite what their moms told them, they just aren't talented enough for radio. Unfortunately, anyone can have a show these days. Sean.
Well, I'm pretty hard to figure out sometimes. In fact, I can't even figure myself out sometimes, so don't you try to.
Joe.
You're an idiot and really a disloyal person.
This is the Cuse Militia. Now, those two unapologetically biased orange-blooded homers, Sean and Joe.
It's the most bullshit thing I've seen in 30 years.
Welcome, Orange men and ladies. Happy Wednesday. This is the Cuse Militia with Sean and Joe. At Cuse Militia on the socials. Go there, join the militia. The path to the NCAA tournament narrows for the Orange after losing at home to UNC 72-68 despite being up by 2 with under 20 seconds left. And there's plenty to say about it. You'll hear from us and we'll hear from you in fan feedback. In Syracuse, we'll head to Blacksburg to take on Virginia Tech Saturday at 7 p.m. We'll let you know what we think about that. So, Joe. Oh,
Sir.
Where did you go? I got to be able to see you.
Oh, my bad.
I was like, am I going to have to redo the whole thing? No. Okay. I'm not in the best mood. I decided to sleep on it. And I said, you know what? I'm not going to make any crazy accusations. Try to do those things, not based out of anger or emotion.
Or like immediate response, right?
Yeah. So I slept on it. I woke up and I said, you know what? Not much has changed. I'm just going to be honest today about how I feel about this game because I thought it was bad. And we'll get into it, I guess.
Well, not bad for us.
No. But I mean, we'll get into it all. I just don't know how to watch basketball anymore. I don't know what I'm looking for. I don't know what I'm looking at. I don't know what's what. It's become very confusing and really frustrating. And I think it's kind of a problem when you couple it with everything else going on. It just becomes kind of a mess for me. So we'll get into it. Coach had a very quick press conference last night. Mm-hmm. And usually at home, those tend to be about 8 minutes, 10 minutes. Well, about 8 minutes, I'd say. This was under 5. This is more like an away game press conference. But it had a lot in it, and it's got everything we need to talk about. So let's hear from Coach.
We played really well. Our defense got better as the game went along. I thought the first charge on Jude, I thought he clearly got by. I thought it was a bad call, but that happens. We're playing zone. We get 3 free throws. It's not a good number versus 23. But we battled hard. We did everything we could to get back in it and gave ourselves a great chance to win the game. Didn't get the rebound on the missed foul shot. That's a bad look. But we did everything we could tonight to win this game and got away right at the last second. Questions?
What about the second charge on Judah? What did you think of that? What did it tell you about the flagrant one violation?
Said he hit him with his elbow. I haven't seen it, so I don't know.
What are your thoughts on that free throw discrepancy tonight?
It's unusual.
How do you feel about Benny and Chris?
I thought Chris really made some tough shots tonight. I thought he was a little better on defense. Benny, he's 20 minutes and he's getting 2 rebounds. He's got to find a way to be more productive. We did a good job. Did a good job on the boards, which is unusual. They're the best rebounding team, one of the best rebounding teams in the league. So it's disappointing. We made 5 or 6 turnovers we usually don't make, but that's how you lose close games.
Judah is such an aggressive player. He likes to take the ball to the hoop.
Mm-hmm.
Is there a line he needs to?
Yeah, he'll learn. He'll learn. It takes time. I don't think the first one was a charge. I really don't.
Do you think the press helped you guys get back into it?
Not really.
It's the second game you lost by 4 points in the span of 8 days. Why can't your team close out big games?
We're done.
Must be that guy. Must be new. Okay, so
Johnny,
look. Syracuse played a tremendous game last night. They played a tremendous game. And if you take away some of the sloppy turnovers, I know Joe had 6. You take away a couple of those, you know, it's not good. But there's something there. Okay, if you want to play the fair guy podcast, you can say, you know what? Turn the ball over too many times. It's really hard to win against the UNC. You turn the ball over that many times. No doubt. Okay? Also, a couple other things. Jesse's got in foul trouble with, 9 minutes left? Okay? So you want to play fair guy podcast reaction? That's bad. You shouldn't be getting in foul trouble like that with 9 minutes left. Obviously, Jesse, you could say he had a mediocre night, but he was a presence in there, and he was making a huge difference. So it just wasn't, one of those nights where he's scoring a lot. But then you could say, you know what? The one thing you could really point to is you got a rebound after the foul shot at the end of the game, and instead Joe just gives it was Pete Nance an assist, right? So look, it's on Syracuse. Well, the problem that I have with that take is that we lost by 4. We were up by 2 with 19 seconds left. Some of the fouls leading up to Jesse at least the third foul, or no, the fourth foul. It was the fourth foul. The fourth foul was
both of them.
Probably both. Thank you. So, not good fouls. The one charge on Judah, and then look, man. I guess I just don't understand. Like, I understand the dude got hit in the face. Who was that? Was it R.J. Davis?
Yeah.
Okay. He gets hit in the face. He is running backwards as Judah's on a fast break, and Judah is making his way to the basket. He tries to Euro step around him and with the ball, that's his move. He does it all the time. It's a basketball move, is it not? I mean, okay, he wasn't even looking at Davis. He was looking at the basket. So we could just now jump in front of offensive players on fast breaks, get barreled, and then that's an offensive foul now. And if you get hit in the face, God forbid, that's going to be 2 shots in the ball. I'm sorry. I thought it was bad. I thought it was bad. They couldn't even let the game be decided with some excitement. They had to kill everything with whatever it was, 30 seconds left, or 10. It was 19 seconds, I think, if I remember right. Mm-hmm. And they killed everything. It was going to be a tremendous game, win or loss. You take away that last 19 seconds, and you might be able to point to a couple ticky-tack fouls, but everything leading up to the end of that game was just atrocious to me. I thought it was bad. I don't sit here and lament about officiating like this ever. I don't think I ever have. I don't think I've ever been this upset about it. But I thought it was bad. And Coach, I think, did everything he could in that press conference to keep his freaking powder dry so he doesn't get in trouble.
Yeah, well, that's why I think that he stormed out, right? So, I mean, I listened to a couple things. Jerry McNamara was on a local show today, and he spoke of how, college basketball was getting better at, fixing the situation where a defender arms are straight up and down and they're jumping straight up and down, that they can do that and still have contact and not have a foul. And I think Jesse got called for at least two that
were straight up and down.
He was straight up and down, and he spoke as far as that goes. As far as a flagrant one goes, it means excessive in nature or unnecessary or avoidable, uncalled for or not required by the circumstances of the play.
That was totally required.
That was a basketball play.
Yes.
He Euro stepped. He didn't throw his elbow out there egregiously. And R.J. Davis, let's be honest, he threw himself in front of him.
He threw himself in front of him as he was backpedaling.
The only reason that was called a charge was because of the fact that he got hit and fell to the ground, because he was moving as well. So realistically, I mean, to me, the egregious part of that play is R.J. Davis just throwing himself in front of him. And, I mean, granted, yeah, okay, he sacrificed his body for his team, but that should not be a foul. And then obviously the charge before that shouldn't have been a foul. Like you said, there were some things that were still there that we still could have cleaned up and done differently and still probably won the game and been able to overcome all of those things. But, we're just talking about just a couple fouls when really, you got to look at the free throw discrepancy as well. I mean, 23 free throws to 3, is a little ridiculous. So, I mean, that's just really, really hard. Like you said, a fair fan can sit there and say, "Oh, you shouldn't have turned it over. You shouldn't have this." But that one was tough to watch, man.
There was another play with Syracuse down, winding down. It was after the flagrant, after the foul shots, and it wasn't. Yeah, it was after. I think it was after the foul shots, and then UNC was inbounding the ball, I believe. Anyway, there was like 10 seconds left. It was after all that stuff. UNC was up by 2. Judah gets called for his 5th foul. He was shoved all over the place and fell. And they called a foul on him. Like, yep. Are you fucking kidding me? Like, yeah. That's how this ends?
Well, even with the play where Joe saved it and threw it in underneath the basket and they got that easy bucket to take the lead, Hema got pushed bad on that play,
on the
which didn't
rebound?
allow him to get the – what's that?
On the rebound of the foul shot, yeah.
Yes. So it was just overall tough. And especially that last flagrant one, because even if they just called the charge, then you're down 1 with however many seconds and you can get the foul and you still got a shot, but.
And like I said,
giving them 4 free throws.
You can point to some of that stuff. You can point to the turnovers. You can point to not rebounding that one under the basket after the missed foul shot, because there's still hope there. But let's be honest. There's more to that loss than Syracuse with a couple extra turnovers and some poor rebounding. And by the way, +5 on the boards throughout the whole game. That's awesome.
And Judah's getting killed for this too. And I just
why should he be taken? Okay, look. There's a little bit. Okay, so coach talks about, is driving aggressive to the basket, right? Well, that's understandable. We've talked about it. Sometimes it looks out of control. Sometimes it is out of control. He's young. He'll learn. Look, I didn't see anything that he did at the end of that game that would cause a fan reaction negative to Judah. He was trying to win the game, and he was going to, had a defender not just stepped in front of him and got up all in his shit. It's just like, what is he supposed to do? Put on the brakes? No, I mean,
That's why he sidestepped and tried to Euro.
He tried to get around him. And then his elbow hits him in the face. Why is his elbow hit him in the face? Well, because he cut him off, and he was backpedaling, and he was all up in his area.
Face right up, yeah.
So I kind of reached a boiling point with it yesterday. I didn't say anything on Twitter about it. I kind of just left it alone.
Dude, I talked to some UNC fans today at work that were like,
"What'd they say?"
Won that game.
Well, when my son,
they thought that we played better.
Yeah, well, I think Baycott was saying that something along those lines. I don't want to misquote him, but something, in relevance to that type of statement was that we should have won or something along those lines. Robert, top fan on Facebook. First, the flagrant and the last foul were BS. Was it a charge? Yes. Was it flagrant? No. They're so close, playing their hearts out. When they finally close on one of these, I feel like the sky's the limit. I feel bad for these kids right now. There is no lack of fight. I would have to disagree on that, on the flagrant. I don't think it was even a charge. I mean, he clearly stepped in front of him on a fast break. I don't even think it was a charge. That's being very, very extremely fair. And I watched it again, too, today. Before I came on here, I watched it again a couple times.
Yeah, I mean, I had a whole bunch of people at work saying that wasn't a flagrant. That wasn't a flagrant. Like,
if anything, it should have been a block. If you're gonna blow the whistle there, it's a block. There was another one too. What was?
See, my whole thing is that some stuff like that, like, what happens to no calls?
What do you mean? What happened to no calls or what?
Yeah.
Well, there
Like,
was
they
a couple
barely ever
good
had
no
no
calls in
calls.
that game. There was a couple good no calls in that game. I thought there was some aggressive play, and I like watching the aggressive play. I think it adds way more excitement. I think our team is built for that type of play. I really do. The problem is that Jesse does have a little bit of issue with the over the back stuff, and he saved a bucket on his foul. It wasn't a great foul, but he saved a bucket. Ended up missing one of them, if I remember right. Nance. On his fifth foul. I don't agree with it even being his fifth foul. That's the problem. Like, should he have had 5? That's where I'm coming from. And I think the way that they let the teams play this year, it's been a drastic difference. I feel like the way that they're letting them play this year benefits the sport. I feel like it benefits just the entertainment aspect of things, but I just don't think the officiating's good. I mean, two things can be true at the same time. You can let them play and still be good at it.
Right.
It's just not good. It's just not good. Let's see. Real quick. I opened up the green room early. So Dominic was there. Dominic, if you're still there, unmute yourself.
Yep, I just did. I was trying to type something, and I didn't expect you to come to me so quickly.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No.
It's a different.
It's all right.
Go ahead.
How you guys been?
Great. How you been?
I'm better now that I'm no longer at work dealing with Tar Heel fans.
Well, what were they at least? Were they at least fair about things, or were they?
So I have. It's funny. His last name is actually Teal, Teel. So I call him Teal the Heel, which most people do because he's just a big Tar Heel fan. And he said the last one on Judah, he goes, "I'll give you that. It wasn't a flagrant." And the one where with 0.8 seconds left, he goes, that was on us too.
That was the. Are you talking about the Judah's fifth foul? Hello.
I said you can't. Like Coach K used to say, Coach Smith, Dean Smith would get all the calls. And I work with a guy. He's actually an Indiana fan, and he's lived here all his Indiana fan. 55 years old, and he's just like, for years the refereeing in the ACC has been terrible. He's like, since the 70s. He's just like, it is. He goes, I don't think it's bias. I just think that they have no clue how to teach their refs. And he goes, you have Carolina Duke fans that just want to kill you because they think that each team gets all the calls. And he goes, they're just terrible. That's what he said. My issue last night, let me tell you, you can make a mistake on calls, guys. They inserted them in the game every time they went to the TV. That's what really upset me, because we would start going on a run and then they'd be like, oh, let's make sure that we get this right. And then they would slow us down on one of our traditional, 5, 6, 7, 0, 8, 0, 9, 0 runs. And then, oh, wait, they'd like call a timeout for Hubert Davis. He did their job for them. And that is what I'm upset about with the most. I think that if they would have just let us play, I think we would have had a few, 5, 6, like those runs that I was talking about before. And I really think that we would have won that game by 7, 8 points if forget about the fouls. So it was just that was the hardest thing for me to just deal with.
Yeah, and thanks, Dom. I appreciate you, buddy. The game was much harder to swallow for me than Miami, and that's saying quite a bit. But I just I just like Dominic said. I really think that that was a winnable game. I think we would have won the game. Not just winnable, but I mean, obviously it was winnable. Right, exactly. But I think
that's
we would
really
have won.
the thing for me is that like I saw some things. I mean, even like I said, John Eads, right? He writes for Orange Fizz, and he wrote about what happened yesterday. He asked a couple questions, got some short answers, and then in his in his article, he kind of explained why he asked that last question, and it's based on facts and so on and so forth. And he said that obviously it ended the way that it did, and then I guess he Boeheim stared him down as he walked out of the room, and then proceeded to say that pretty much our season's basically over, and it's just, I mean, so many overreactions and so many things. I think that coach was just upset about the calls. I think that he really thought that they should have won that game, and to hear a question like that immediately after a game when he thinks he probably should have won it, I can understand. We understand Coach Boeheim when it comes to that kind of stuff. So you can either look at it at like a situation like this is a game that we didn't have, and why we aren't going to move forward or get into the tournament, or this game could be the reason why we move forward and kind of take our season and our destiny into our own hands. I mean, they've proven to themselves that they can compete with everybody in this conference they can compete with. So I mean, what's to say we can't just I don't want to say run the table, but we can. I see a lot of winnable games on our schedule, especially the way we played last night, and we're just getting better. It's just we're starting to play against better competition.
And UNC is, like Coach said, they're like one of, if not the best rebounding team in the. That was the one thing I went over in the preview that I actually looked up. They're top 25 in the country in rebounding.
Yeah.
And we were like 127th. They're averaging close to 40 rebounds a game, and we held them to 30. And we were +5. So, I mean, if that the game, look, here's the thing. I think it was Robert said they got a lot of fight. There's just so much heart in this team and so much fight in this team. They just don't give up. They're not afraid of the Giants. And you always have a shot when you have that mentality coming into a game. Real quick, let's go to Facebook again. Our buddy Zach, our boy Zach from Facebook. That's got to be at least the fourth game Judah has lost us in crunch time shots. He is certainly our best player, but he should most definitely not be the one taking the last shot of the game. He just can't handle the moment. Now, I'll say this. I would have to agree with that. I disagree about last night in those terms. I will say that there's been moments, yes, that I feel like someone else maybe should have had the ball, but with Judah last night, I don't put much blame on him. I don't really put a lot of blame on the players at all in that game. I really don't. No. They played their asses off. 44% from three. Joe was really hot, 12 points in the first half. He got 6 more, but he was on fire in the first half, and he shot really good. 4 for 9 from three. In 3 for 4 inside the arc. He just couldn't get any shots later. And, it didn't. At the end of the day, I don't think that was what hurt us. And I could say the same for Judah. I know he was the last one to have the ball before everything imploded, but he was there. Any other time, I think he makes that bucket and maybe even gets the and one. He just got cut off too early, and I just disagree.
Well, you need him to be able to make that shot, right? So he's got to learn. He's got to learn how to handle that moment, because
I will agree
he's the only
with that.
guy that can do those type of things, right?
Yeah.
And really the tough thing about this, again, I agree with you about last night. I think that really, at least the first one definitely wasn't a charge. That shouldn't have been an and one. And, but yeah, you can also argue on these games that, yes, does it come down to, there's a reason why it's in his hands, right? It's not like he's a bum the whole game, and, it's a situation where we're probably not in a situation to win the game without Judah. And then it just has happened, to come down to the ball in his hands, and he's just made mistakes. And like I said, the fact of the matter is you can't step around the fact that that's a fact. That
Absolutely.
He has had these turnovers. Yep. He has made some bad plays at the end.
He's out of control sometimes.
Out of control sometimes, absolutely. But some of these, and I'm not saying Zach's, but I saw some on Twitter and Facebook where they're talking about he should be sitting the last few minutes, shouldn't even be out on the court. Like, there's a lot out there.
I saw some about Joe, too. Like, Joe sit. Why would Joe sit? Joe's been tremendous this year. I thought even the Joe haters had to admit that, but I guess not.
Yeah, probably because he hucked up a couple bad threes later in the game, right? Like,
he did, but I mean, he's four at the end of the day. He's still 4 for 9.
Yeah.
If he goes 4 for 5 and he chucks up one bad one, there's going to be a handful of people that complain about it.
Well, I think he was 4 for 7 and hucked up 2.
Okay, well there you go. So, and by the way, ask yourself this, and you got to be honest with yourself about it. How many threes has Joe chucked up and where he's shooting them from, and you know he's going to shoot it? You go, no, and then he makes it, and you're like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
Right? So,
yeah, and I think his shot selection has actually gotten a lot better. I mean, he had a tough guard last night, and I was worried about that whole situation. I talked to my dad about that, and I was like, this might be a game where we want to go deep, go big, go Benny and Malik. And so to make it to where Leaky Black can't guard one of our guards, because I was worried that Leaky Black was going to guard Joe and shut him down. And I'll tell you, I mean, Joe he's growing up in front of our eyes. He's not just a 3-point shooter anymore. And I think that he's definitely going to take, he's going to take some heat check shots that you're going to be like, okay. But for the most part this year, and especially here recently, the way that he's, going down low, posting his guys up, yesterday he was using his body or his speed to get in front of Leaky Black, and then he would, use his body to stay in front of him to make plays. He's definitely growing as far as, a shooting guard. And like you said, he's having a great year. So you're going to have your onesie, twosie games where it's not good. It's going to happen. You're not going to play good every single game, but he's been the most consistent scorer on the team by far.
Tyler on Facebook, Judah needs to ride the pine with 1 minute left in close games. Jeff on Facebook, tough loss. That was not a flagrant one. Nope. Let's see. He'll get there. This team is going to have to be. Yeah, I agree with Zach in the green room. He'll get there. This team is going to be terrifying next year for sure. Yes. And if they stay, it will be dangerous. And you look at what UNC has, and UNC's an all-star cast, dude. It's a star-studded team. And with big guys. I can't remember the last time we did that good against big guys like that. You get the one-offs and stuff. I just feel like this team's handling these upper echelon teams better as time goes on. And by no means is the season should be talking like, you were mentioning earlier by some of the feedback you saw, but look, it narrows. Every one of these that's a missed opportunity, the road narrows, and the more you lose, the worse, the harder it is to get back into it. So
yeah. No, I mean, look, the best part about it is that
there's always
that tournament at the end of the year.
Well, true, yeah.
And this isn't a year where there's like 4 teams that are like far and away above everybody else. This is a year where, I mean, like you've seen, we've competed pretty much with everybody.
Hey, I think let's get to Joe's comment, because I think he's talking about something I wanted to mention as well. So, top fan, Joe P on FB.
Joe Pa.
So let me see if I've got this right. A basketball 101 move is now a flagrant. Getting thrown to the ground is a foul. Good to know. I called the Mints out of control drive. Asked Ted. He's done it so many times this season. He has. The hero ball mentality in that scenario is the only part of the game I don't like. Such a frustrating loss. We touched on everything at the end of that comment, but the getting thrown to the ground is now a foul. So that's not what I'm talking about, because I think it was a jump ball. You remember when Jesse and Baycott had both got the ball, and then there was it was right before there was almost a little scrum, and then broadcasters mentions anytime something happens like that, Baycott walks away. That's what he does. He's the bigger man, right? Mm-hmm. Well, he threw Jesse down to the ground, and he had his arm in there, so they call it jump ball. Okay, whatever, but it's stuff like that, that just raises the temperature, and you could see it did right away, because the bench jumped up, and the players saw it too. And it didn't, from my vantage point, it didn't look good either. in the story for me for this game was going to be if the game didn't end the way it ended was going to be how much slobber was all over Armando Bacot throughout the whole game, because I had to turn it down. Joe, I texted you. I said, "Bro, I got to turn this down."
Our back and forth is pretty funny.
I can't. I just can't listen to this. And I can't stand when broadcasters just stick to one guy and just that's their whole focus for the game. You know what I'm saying? It's so obnoxious. It's so obnoxious. And I had forgotten all about that until just now. That's how pissed off I was, because I had very little to complain about. And that's what I was going to go to. So,
yeah.
To be fair, I'm just being honest. Let's switch over to Twitter. What's so funny? What?
Oh, just when you texted me that last night, that was funny.
I was a little more colorful last night.
Yeah, you were.
Yeah.
So was I.
Yes. That's right. Yeah. At Saltine Warrior 4, same story, different day as Miami down the stretch. I'm not as mad because I expected it this time. Judah missing bunnies. Don't rebound a missed free throw. They take the lead. Judah puts his head down for flagrant. I don't understand all of that. I just read it the way it was written. Yeah, the miss rebound on the free throw. If you're being that guy, and I played that guy at the open of the show, was the one thing really that when that happened, you knew the game was probably out of reach. They get that rebound, changes like the whole complexion of the game.
Yeah, and then like
down by one, right?
You can play devil's advocate, right? Because you can look at all that. I mean, I think Hema got a rebound one time and then passed it and turned it over, and then there was another time when Malik Brown went to go save something out of bounds and chucked it off Hema's head. You know, Joe saving it underneath the basket. Plus, I mean,
Malik Brown
definitely made some mistakes.
Malik Brown threw one.
Malik Brown chucked
it.
He didn't throw it. He chucked. I mean, I get it. Like, it's embarrassing, but he threw that unnecessarily hard.
Well, you're going out of bounds and you're doing it quick. With quick comes force. With force comes speed, right? So, but it did hit him right in the noggin
and
for
with
sure.
From the speed comes a basketball off your head out of bounds. Yeah. So that's,
totally.
And then we can talk about the refs, obviously, but there were still plays there that I felt like.
Yes, absolutely. Just a game that close, when you can ride.
Yeah, I mean, I think that says a lot, right? Because off of everything that we were battling, all the things that were going against us, we still had a situation where if we didn't make these mistakes, then we still could have won. Where in another situation, I mean, this really could have been out of hand, really, when you look at some of the discrepancies and stuff like that.
Again, starting slow, digging themselves out of a hole, Didn't get that ugly, though. It was like 10 at one point, I think, as high as it got, right? Was that the largest lead?
Well, and that's another thing, right, is we used to say that, remember?
That was 12 at one point. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
But remember earlier in the ACC, we talk about that. We would talk about, like, they're not going to be able to do this against the top teams in the ACC. Well, we have, and we still have came back and put ourselves in position to win the game. So, for what it's worth, it's a situation where we just need to figure that whole thing out.
Unfortunately, they did. So Syracuse was down early by 12 in the second half. That was the point in the game where it could have gotten bad, right? And again, the beginning of halves is just a titch of an issue, I guess, if you want to call it a titch. But the press wasn't that great last night, and I mean, it's been pretty damn good all year. But of course, it would happen the game after I said that the press isn't a desperation move anymore. It's a tool in the tool belt, and then they go and give me that kind of showing. But it's going to happen.
That's another thing. That's another thing we talked about too, is that this year the press is more or less worked better as speeding them up when the teams get comfortable and trying to get them out of their rhythm. But that really didn't work last night. I think really our straight up 2-3 zone, when we figured out who could do what and everything, I think we really figured them out for a little while, and then they got a little bit of help.
We didn't mention in particular the at the Big E 228. 23-3. Enough said. Talking about the foul shot discrepancy, and I can't imagine that Syracuse shouldn't have been to the line more. And I find that very, very hard to believe. As Coach said, something along those lines. It's odd. I don't know at what point these things get looked at internally, but you can look at that game and definitely say, hey, this is questionable at the very least. I guess
that's the whole thing. I mean, the whole process is most likely broken because, I think they have the same process that football does where you can send in plays and you can, make sure that they understand, right? But I mean, does it ever really get fixed?
Right.
Same thing as football.
Right. Yeah. And it's a situation too where no one is anyone really held accountable, and if they are, we don't know. So you don't think they are. So if they are, it should be known, right? And it's just one of those things that it would be good if there is some kind of accountability that it becomes public, so that people can feel justified in some of their issues. I mean, everything's just either there's no accountability at all, or they just don't ever talk about it, and then everybody's left scratching their head all the time. Like, how come this stuff doesn't get fixed?
Right.
So,
what are you gonna do? Sorry.
Well, I mean, I don't know what you do, but there's reporters out there, right?
Right.
Well, there's reporters out there, right? So what plays are getting sent in? What's being done? Are these, is anybody getting fired? Are they switching teams around? Are they giving them extra training? Are they getting a write-up and, 3 strikes you're out type thing? I mean, I don't know, but there's reporters out there. That's their job. That's their job to figure that out and get that on paper and put it on the internet. For God's sake. You don't even need to write an article and publish it anywhere. If you're a reporter, you just put it on Twitter and boom, it's a story. You don't even need processed media like that. You know what I'm saying? All you got to do is go figure it out. At Joe Catskill. I really like this team. Everyone contribute. You can leave it up to Joe, by the way, to just call the positives. And that's why I like Joe. I really like this team. Not you, Joe.
Oh.
Joe Catskill, Joe.
Okay.
I really like this team.
That's the nicest thing you said.
You're okay too. You're okay too. But when I say okay, I mean it's just like okay. Everyone contributed and had lots of energy. Couple of questionable calls towards the end. I love to see these guys in the tournament go orange. A couple of questionable calls toward the end. Yes, Joe, you could say that. Let's see. At Jimmy Hines, still feel this team can make an ACC tournament run. Keep grinding. Okay. I mean, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, to me, realistically, like I said, since the Illinois game, when we got blown out, there's been nothing in my mind that should tell this team that, that they should give up, right? I mean, It's just a situation where they've been in every game. They've won a lot of games since then, and yeah, I mean, you just got to get better. You just got to push. And if realistically, I mean, I feel like this team knows that they could beat any team in this conference. It's just, all little stuff and just putting this stuff together to finish these close games against good teams. But as long as we can do that and figure that out by the end of the year, then yeah, I mean, I'm looking at the same thing. And tournaments in Greensboro this year, so
there's no value there. That's right by you. Said there's no value in Greensboro.
No, I know, but that's like an hour drive or less for me. So yeah,
drive through it to get to Winston-Salem.
Boom.
At No Blanchard 44, AKA the social media wingman. Ever since joining the ACC, we've had to put up with the worst officiating that we could possibly get. Should Judah drive like that when he's with the game on the line? No, but that doesn't excuse the BS that followed. Great game throughout. Refs put UNC over the finish line, though. I mean, that's pretty well said. So my son says to me today, and I guess some kids at his school, and he goes to school in Virginia Beach, not really a lot of Syracuse fans at his school, and It was. How'd you like that Syracuse versus the referees game last night? So it's no secret for much of it. But, I told, and he came to me and he's like, UNC always gets called. I'm like, you know what? It's not so much that. It doesn't feel like so much that as more as it is, like Noah said, just the officiating in the ACC. It doesn't matter what sport. It almost doesn't matter what team, right? It's just kind of, we feel like we're slighted a lot. And it might sound whiny, but I think it's a consensus among Syracuse fans, to say the least. And we try to not point to that if we can, right? I mean, let's be honest. You think
right.
what?
And I think a lot of fans, are like that too, especially when they lose. Because I think there's something you can point out, or some things you can point out in every single game. But I mean, realistically, if North Carolina lost that game last night, what would they be able to point out?
Yeah.
And the only thing that I heard from North Carolina was, "Oh, are you trying to take my guy out? Oh, your man's trying to take my guy out, hitting him in the face 2 different times." Like, he's not doing it on purpose. Tell your guy to get his face away from his elbows.
Yeah, don't put your face near fists or elbows. It's a bad spot for your face. Seriously, that's good advice.
Like, I'm not like anybody that's played basketball. Like, there's kind of a spot where you just don't go past, because if you do, at some point you're gonna catch an elbow, and you're just asking for it.
Yeah, and was there like I'm not trying to be. I mean, he got hit in the face. We all saw it. So I'm not saying it was acting, but what happened? I didn't see anything.
It was a basketball move, dude.
No, I know that. What happened to him? What happened to R.J. Davis?
I think he cut his eye open.
Did he get cut? Okay.
He got hit up above his eye.
I thought it was above his eye. I just didn't see anything. He was on the floor for quite a while. So
yeah.
Anyway,
well,
there was
Davis
definitely contact. Huh?
Hubert Davis said there was blood and stuff like that. So I listened to his post presser too.
Okay. Well, fair enough. Okay, look, a lot of this is the same, at Cuse MJ1, hard to play 5-on-8. Okay. I think we kind of made our points for the UNC game.
Yeah, we beat this dead horse.
Yeah, we definitely did. And
but hey,
if
one thing.
Okay. One thing. Go.
Yeah, we really haven't said anything about Chris Bell.
Chris Bell, 15 points. Played really good.
I talked to my dad the day of the game, and we were talking about lineups and this and that. I was talking to him about Leaky Black and who he was going to guard and all that. And he said that he thought that Chris Bell was going to have a good game, and I said he was kind of crazy because I didn't think that he'd show the consistency. And I was like, "Is he really going to get up for North Carolina? Come on!" But he called it, and Chris Bell had a good game. Played 36 minutes. Yeah,
he did play a good game. He hit some monster shots.
Yeah,
at opportune times. Yeah. And contributed big time there. He was a stud out there in 36 minutes. That's a really good run for him. 15 points.
6 of 9 from the field, 3 of 5 from 3-point. Had 4 rebounds, 2 assists, and a block.
Yeah. And how about Jesse with some of those blocks too, man? He was an animal. Malik Brown didn't show up huge, but he had 7 rebounds. I mean, he just wasn't he wasn't racking up the points like he's been, but still a factor, to say the least. And those 7 rebounds, that's huge. So he had just as many as Jesse. All right, let's move on to Virginia Tech. The all-time series between Virginia Tech and Syracuse sits at 13-5 in favor of the Orange. The last game, a 10-point win at home for Syracuse, 80-72. Or 82-72, I believe. Mintz, Edwards, Gerard, Bell, and Williams, your starting 5. Gerard with 24 points and Malik Brown with 12 rebounds. Since the game at Syracuse, Virginia Tech has gone 1-2, but they have Hunter Couture back, and they've gotten progressively better. I think they had a 10-point loss against UVA, 78-68. And then they played at Clemson. That was at UVA. And then at Clemson, they lost by 1, 51-50. And then they had a 3-point win against Duke at home this past Monday. Just the other day, 78-75. And, it's the same kind of cast of characters with Couture. Okay, so you've still got Padula, Mutz, and Basili And Padula was huge in the Duke game. And, well, Basili was...
It was Basili.
Yeah, he was huge in the Duke game. But Padula had some big shots. He went 3 for 5 from behind the arc. So they came on strong against Clemson. Low-scoring game. And it was a little bit of an odd game. I did see that one. I didn't see any of this Duke game. I didn't know it was on. And I guess shame on me because I should have checked. There's usually a game on Monday. But I guess there was some controversy in this game, and I never went to look at it. And I never read about it either. What the hell was it? Do you know?
No.
Oh, okay. There was something in that game. But anyway, they beat Duke at home. And that's their what, second ACC win of the season?
Yeah.
So, in a big one at that. Yeah, they sit at 12-8 overall right now. So
they're 2-7 in the ACC, and their 2 wins are against North Carolina and Duke.
How's it going?
Oh my gosh, let's just get rid of this. Okay.
Yeah, and I mean, with being 12-8 with 2-7 in the conference, these guys are still 49th in the net ranking and 46th in KenPom. So they've had a tough schedule, and I think they understand a little bit of the injury as well with Hunter Couture, but makes them a different team.
Who's Virginia Tech's 49th in the net? That's a quad 1 game.
Yep.
That's crazy. After losing 7 in a row.
Yep. And we're gonna have a quad 1 at home against Virginia.
So, yeah, and obviously
we got a couple quad 1 games coming up again. I mean, they're there for the tanking. The games are still there to make this turn the season around. This is a team that we've already played. We already know the opponent. The only difference is that we don't know what it's going to look like with Hunter Couture. And that's kind of what scares me. And on top of that, it's an away game. So
the team just seems better with them. Obviously, they are. Yeah, that's an obvious statement. But I'm just saying, though, that he's a problem. And he's going to be shooting from 3-point land. That's what he's going to do.
I mean, he's the only guy that played 40 minutes this last game, and he went 5 of 10 from the 3.
Yeah, and 15 points.
I had to seal the game.
So, there you go. So there's not much more to say, really, other than give our picks here. And I'm not going to lie to you that this game doesn't sit well with me. I just don't feel like this is a good... It's hard to beat a team twice. You sweep Notre Dame, okay, and it's just not an easy thing to do, especially at home. You get the home win, and then you got to go on the road. It's difficult, and I think it's going to be another close game. I think so. There's a couple things. If you really want to play, the motivation game for each team, it is that Hunter Couture wasn't there for the game against Syracuse. He had to sit on the bench and watch it. He gets to come home and help redeem his team. They all get to redeem their team after the loss at Syracuse. And then I don't know how that does that, but sometimes it's fine, but sometimes it is like someone shooting a gun off near the microphone. And then for Syracuse, it is to have another opportunity at a quad 1 game and come out and pull another sweep and take 2 from Virginia Tech and also take a quad 1 game. So they will likely remain a quad 1 for some time too, unless they decide they're going to drop a deuce against Boston College and Notre Dame or something like that, because they got Miami and Virginia coming up next after us. What, Joe?
No, I just heard you talking about dropping deuces. I didn't know what you were talking about.
I was talking about Virginia Tech dropping deuces. They should stay quad 1 through their next few games. They're going to have to pull off some wins, but they're playing Miami and Virginia after they play us. So 2 ranked teams. So David's in the green room. He's going to give his pick first. He says he's got the homer pick here, man. He's going to pull a sweep. He's predicting the sweep, 79-74, Syracuse. With all those things said, I feel like this could be another frustrating game for us to watch, and I don't necessarily mean like bad officiating or anything. I just think that it's going to be close, and I don't think we're going to pull it off. Okay, I'm just going by the law of averages with this thing.
I almost wish that Gio got in the green room tonight. That would have been.
It would have.
I'm wondering what his situation is as far as if he's working it. I'm sure he is.
I'm sure he is. Yeah, he is. He called the Duke game, I believe.
Yeah.
But
so you making a pick, or
I'm going to make a pick. I'm gonna. It's tough. It's a tough call for me. I'm gonna say 77 to 74. Virginia Tech. Not proud of it. I'm not proud of it. And look, I love being wrong in these situations, too. I would look. There's not too many other people out there that. Well, there's a lot of people that live in Virginia that listen to this show, and I don't know a single one of them, by the way. But they probably hate Virginia Tech kind of like I do. That this is a big deal in Virginia, obviously, to beat Virginia Tech and get to puff your chest out the next day. So,
yeah, I mean, it's always tough. I mean, you look at it; it's going to be a homecoming. I mean, I know Malik Brown's from Virginia. I know Justin Taylor's from Virginia. I'm pretty sure
he's from Charlottesville. Yeah.
Yeah. So we're probably going to have a situation where we're going to have more family and friends in this arena for some Syracuse players. But dude, Virginia Tech, I mean, with this new coach, Mike White, and the way that they've been going, the way that they won the ACC tournament to get into the NCAA tournament last year, and just, I mean, there's a lot of excitement around Virginia Tech basketball right now, and it's not an easy place to play. We know that. So, I mean, even when Buzz Williams was the coach, I mean, I hated playing at Virginia Tech. So, we know what they're going to be. They're normally just, 3 guards and some big forwards. And I just feel like Virginia Tech was just on such a good trajectory before Hunter Couture got hurt. And now that he's back, I feel like they're just, I mean, I know they lost the first couple of games. It takes a little while to kind of get back into the flow, right? But beating Duke at home, and then, I mean, just they're on.
You remember what they were doing before he was gone, though, too.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
That's what I mean. So, like, it's like they're on this whole thing of, like, now we got to go back and prove that we're not this. I mean, they wouldn't beat 2-7 in the ACC if Hunter Couture didn't never get hurt.
Correct.
Excuse me.
Jeez, Crow, you're a mess.
Sorry. Dude, I just sneezed.
I know. But
that they wouldn't be here, and they're still in a situation where they can make the tournament. I mean, they just obviously can't lose every single game, but they have the numbers right now to where their strength of schedule has been good enough. And I mean, if you don't think that this team wants to go out and prove that, okay, this is a different team with Hunter, let's see how you guys handle us at home with Hunter, right? Like,
yeah, it's a redemption moment for that team.
Yeah. So that's what makes me more nervous than anything, because there was a point where Virginia Tech was looked at as possibly one of the better teams in the ACC, and then that injury happened. So kind of right there with you, man. I think it's going to be more of a defensive struggle, but see, it sucks because you took Virginia Tech. So
well, you can still take.
I'm still gonna take Syracuse in this one. I'm hoping that Hunter Couture just doesn't get hot, and some of the players, Justin Taylor and Malik Brown, they both scored double digits in this game first time around. Judah Mintz only had 12 points. I think Joe only had 13. So I think we're playing a little bit better in some areas. So we're a little bit of a different team, and I still think we have the size over them. So I'm still gonna take Syracuse, but I think it's gonna be cardiac Cuse game all the way to the end. I wouldn't be surprised if they took an early lead, and it kind of just status quo as the season's gone by.
Yeah.
But I'm gonna take Syracuse 71, Virginia Tech 69.
All right. Okay, I hope you're right.
I'm just saying, it's tough
things I don't
sometimes when
say
you break
much.
it down, right?
What's that?
It's just sometimes when you break it down, it's like you can see it going this way or you can see it going this way. I can see a reason for them to be motivated, but
I'm going
necessarily.
I'm going off of pure, like, gut and just, kind of thinking about the law of averages. That's.
And that's the thing is I look at it like I'm trying to think about it like is mentally how Virginia Tech would think about it and how they would want to go about it, considering their success earlier in the season.
They were killing.
But I just think that I think that we're just a good matchup. Doesn't take anything away from Virginia Tech. It's just I think we're a good matchup against Virginia Tech, barring that they just don't go crazy from the 3-point line.
Right, and that's the problem. So they've got some 3-point shoot. They've got a few 3-point shooters.
Mm-hmm.
All right, one more thing, and we'll wrap this up. David in the green room says, I think we need to finish 8-2. Let's see. Win versus Virginia Tech, Boston College, FSU, NC State, Duke. Golly, David. Pitt and Georgia Tech. Wake. Lose to Virginia and Clemson. Even if it doesn't work out that way, I still need to go 8-2. I think that'll put us at 21-10 and 14-6 in conference. So, yes, I think no matter how you slice and dice the wins and losses, that would be a tournament. That would be a tournament resume. I don't see how you would deny it. The problem is I don't know if I think 8-2 is a tall order and very optimistic. But if it's a buy, sell, or hold, and we go 8-2, do we make the tournament? I would buy. But the other thing is, I just find it to be really difficult. Just looking ahead, and I just named all the teams, so we still got to play Pitt again. Okay? At Pitt. Duke's at home. NC State's at home. Florida State's away. They're coming on. Boston College hasn't been terrible. UVA at home. They're tough. Clemson away. They're tough games. They're tough games. This conference is tough. It's having a down year. All the teams are really good, though. I mean, not all of them, but most of them are pretty damn good. So I can't wait to see how many teams from the ACC make the tournament this year.
I'll tell you what, not as good as Big 12, that's for sure. But, yeah, I mean, 8-2, I don't even necessarily think 8-2 would put us in, if you're talking about putting us in the picture or putting us in the tournament prior to the ACC tournament, then that would probably be the record that you would probably go to. I don't necessarily think we need to go 8-2 to get into the tournament based upon the ACC tournament. I think that we could go 7-3, possibly even a 6-4, and then make a run. But it depends. It would all depend on the teams that we.
Is it possible? And I'm just throw a hypothetical out there. Is this possible to be the pessimist real quick? Play devil's advocate here. That Syracuse goes on a really bad losing streak to end the season. This last leg of the season.
I don't think so.
Okay. All right. No. Well, I don't think so either, but I think it's possible. I don't think it's probable. I just don't see them falling apart, but one would say at Virginia Tech, Virginia, Boston College, at Florida State, NC State, Duke, Clemson, Pitt, and then you got Georgia Tech and Wake Forest to finish the year. That's 5-5 is probable, David says. I mean, it is. But yeah, I mean, it's tough.
Could be.
It's tough. That's why That's why I hate these hypotheticals looking ahead too, because I can make an argument for every side of it. Because that's just how it is. That's how you think about sports, right? And you never want to be totally down on your team. So let's work with Virginia Tech at Virginia Tech this Saturday at 7, and we'll go from there. So.
Yeah, we go 5-5. We need to make the ACC tournament championship game. Minimum.
Yeah, that's not a good scenario to be in. It depends on who you beat, I think.
Kind of, but there's also games that if you lose,
Yeah, you got to win those too. I can see 5 of them here.
I mean, losing to Boston College, Florida State, or
you got to
Georgia Tech right now is not going to be a good look.
You beat those 3 and you beat Clemson and Duke. or Clemson and UVA, you're not looking terrible. I mean, that's very.
For some reason, I feel like we're going to be better than 5-5.
Okay, good. Well, I hope you're right. I don't even want to call it. I just want to go to Virginia Tech and see what we can do. I like the 8-2 though. It's very optimistic, but obviously, yes.
8-2 would be great.
Exactly. All right. Well, that is going to do it for us. Appreciate all of you for listening to us whine, to me whine, and it doesn't happen very often, but when it happens, I try to whatever I do, I try to do good, and I can whine with the best of them. So appreciate all of you for listening. Thanks everybody in the green room. Thanks David. For Joe, Sean, we're out.
Peace.